We have Chris Waldron with us. He's going to close out the summit for us. Lighthouse's Keys to Mastering Your Mind. A lot of you know who he is on the forum and in person. His reputation definitely precedes him. Usually known as the heckler. One of the things he said was, with this new setup, it's hard to heckle from the audience, so we did something right this year. So everybody, please welcome Chris Waldron.
So you guys will have to excuse me. If any of you talked to me the last 2 nights, I lost my voice Tuesday. It is recovering now, so I'm hoping I do not lose it here on stage today. It's taken a long road to recover over the last 2 days, which is also unfortunate because there's so many new people here. I would love to have met all of you, but unfortunately I had to also do this entire presentation in the middle of the night last night. So, first off, I want to, before I came up here, I heard from somebody that you guys were planning on starting drinking during my presentation. I 1000% agree with doing that. That's pretty, we got 2, we got 3, we got a lot of takers. I think that's a great idea. My goal, my outcome for you guys today after my speech is to know your next move. So we talk a lot about strategies and things here, but as we figured out, you've seen the presentations, mindset is a lot of things. It is a big factor in success. And what you do externally starts internally. And until you start getting a handle on what's going on in your head, you can be a lot more consistent, a lot more persistent, and you can achieve a lot higher levels. So we're gonna go over basics today. We can't cover everything because it's too intense, and to be honest, it would overload the shit out of you guys. So we are gonna go over some basic stuff, some basic housekeeping stuff, in hopes that by the end of this presentation, you guys will basically be geared up and ready to go home, quit your bullshit, and start moving forward. Either if you're starting out, or if you're raising hundreds of millions of dollars. But before we get going on that, everybody that's here for the first time, can you stand up, please? First of all, it's a great exercise to get some freaking energy back in you guys. Yeah. Give me a round of applause. The reason I wanted to recognize that is because it's actually, although you may be here, there's so many more people on the forum that aren't. And it takes a certain amount of drive. There's so many introverts in here. It's been talked about so much. That takes a lot of energy from you guys, right? It's coming out, meeting new people, online people. They could be weird. Okay. I get it. When we started doing these meetups in 2000, so my first one was 2010, there was only 20 people. And the idea was, it's crazy you're going to spend $1,500 to travel to the desert to meet a bunch of other internet weirdos, right? Now we just have 200 weirdos. So it's extremely important to keep this community going. And I love the fact that there's so many new people because you guys are stepping out, you guys are doing what it takes. This is a really small community. You guys are outliers. Entrepreneurs is a very, very small percentage of the people out there, right? And I'm sure you guys, when you go back home, you don't have people that you connect with that understand your language, that talk the way you do, that understand or give a shit what you're doing, right? All they care about, or what they really want to hear about, is how much money you're making and what that means to them, right? You gonna get a Lambo? Can I take it for a drive? It's not often you find somebody locally that you can connect with, so you have to come to things like this, make friends, and that way, if you come here with the intention to learn a new tactic or strategy or get your next business idea, and that fails a month from now, who the fuck do you call? Nobody, you haven't reached out to anybody. So it's highly beneficial that you spend your time here making friends first, because that's how you're going to reconnect with people when you leave. I've been doing that for 10 years. I have a massive network around the world, and I talk to them every day on top of the clients that I talk to. And it's the second most major factor to where I've gotten. The first one is state management, which we'll get into a little bit later. I did also want to find out, because I want to go through the numbers. Is there anybody in here, actually stand up, if you've been to 5+ of these, Can you stand up? I know there's a few. We got a few of them. These guys are also recognizable because you keep coming back and giving back to the community every year. I don't know if we have anybody plus 10, so basically anybody's been in 2009 besides NJ, or if he counts, but I've done 10 years. I know Danielle has, Greg may have as well. It's huge to be able to give back to the community year after year. I love coming to these things, so I'm really, really excited. I'm really grateful that I get to come up here and also close out. Right? It's been a great weekend. Am I right? Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Nice little pause there. Okay, so about me. Who am I? My name's Chris Waldron. I live in the DC area. Have any of you ever heard of Ashburn, Virginia? One person. Wow, seriously? Wow. It must be in technology. So I live in Ashburn. Ashburn is the center of the internet. 70% of the world's internet traffic goes through Ashburn. It's where AOL is headquartered, Verizon, etc. The great thing, my power never goes out. I have also zero ping, so I have really good internet. I'm a father of one. I started my first company at 20, so I never went to college. I have an older brother and sister. They did. My parents didn't have money. So instead, I started a company and I sold it at 24. Wow. A little advantage there, right? I don't have debt and I have a good bit of knowledge. I am now a professional accountability coach. That is in quotes because it's only part of what I do. And I've been doing that for about 2 years. And like I mentioned before, I've been on the forum since 2007. This is my 10th Fastlane Summit. And most importantly, I'm grateful for every one of you. I know I went over it a minute ago, but you guys are what builds this community, and without you guys, there's no event. And you know, it's a really powerful thing. It's helped me connect with you guys. It's helped me learn. I know it's helped a lot of businesses in here as well. So I'm really, really appreciative of each and every one of you. Okay, so before we get started, we want to clear some things up, and this is going to involve a little participation. This was a slide I did a couple years ago. It turned out to be pretty popular. So when the words come up on the screen, I want everybody to basically repeat them, because it's going to be a very important statement. It's only 3 words. Are we all in for that? Do I have you all? Yeah. Well, this is Friday afternoon, that's it? Or Saturday afternoon, that's it? Are you guys okay with that? Yeah! Jesus, thank you. We're just coming from Steve when you need him. All right, ready? We're going to repeat these words. Ready?
Don't fucking dabble.
I mentioned this years ago as a part of a slide, and it became popular. I kept hearing it over and over. But this is critical to what I'm about to go over in every one of your businesses. If you've ever said phrases like, I just dipped my toes in, or, you know what, I'm going to try this out this weekend, or maybe I can do this, I want to dabble a little bit. You're wasting your fucking time, okay? If you're not going to go all in, just be all out and go fucking watch Netflix. It doesn't make sense. If any of you have ever dabbled in anything, did it work out? Probably not, because there's no effort in it, right? There's no amount of time, there's no persistence. So cut the bullshit and get to your thing, which we're going to find out, and we want to focus in on that. This is a very important statement. All right, so let's set the stage for peak performance. I wish I had the slide here. So first thing, what we're going to do here is I'm going to set the stage, and then we're going to get into basically my process of how we set things up week over week. But we need to do housekeeping first. The number one thing that I go over with people first is recognizing that you are in complete control of your emotions at any moment, right? This is what state management is. A lot of people want to say, oh, you know what, I got factors, I got this going on, you know, something bad happened, I'm upset. You are in complete control of every piece of that. You know, if you don't want to be angry anymore, you can now be angry. You're letting yourself have your emotions control you. And that's a lot of what gets a lot of you off track, right? I hear people all the time, like, you know, I just can't get myself moving. Or, you know, I'm just, you know, upset over this thing and I just can't get over it. Well, you know, there's no world exists where some outside force is actually controlling your emotions. You are in 100% control. And the moment you take full responsibility of that is when you start being able to use that to your advantage. Next thing, self-talk. Also very important. There's some of my clients in this room that know this pretty big. I hate the word try. But at the same time, if you are constantly telling yourself that you cannot do it, or there's some reason why you can't do that thing or get to that place, you are absolutely correct. Why? Because when we talk to ourselves, or even when we talk to others, those words become our thoughts become our beliefs, and our beliefs become our reality. Okay? That's very important. I actually think I have it on here. Yeah, your beliefs become reality. That's a big Tony Robbins thing, and it's one of my top keys to life. Your beliefs become your reality. If you think that you can't get to that next level, you are so fucking right, you don't even know. Because you are going to limit yourself at every moment to prevent yourself from moving forward. Because your mind is going to seek to validate and not make you a liar to yourself, right? Our minds have a great ability to convince our brains of basically anything it wants to do. The brain is evolved over hundreds, thousands, millions of years to survive. And survival means using as least or as little energy as possible to accomplish anything that releases endorphins. That's why Netflix and chill is a thing. That's why, sitting around watching YouTube all day is a thing. It's no energy, right? And it provides a lot of dopamine back in your brain. It's really easy to get stuck on that. Heroin's another one. Hopefully we have no heroin addicts in here, but that's a big thing, right? You stick a needle in, you get a huge, massive dopamine rush, and then you crash later and you crave it. Because of that, the other thing that's really key to recognize, and I go over this a lot too, and I'm really, really grateful to be able to say this on a larger stage. You have been conditioned between school, between jobs, between society, that everything you do is a task, and a task equals a reward, right? You do your work, you get a paycheck. You do your schoolwork, you get a grade. You get praise from your parents, that equals more love, etc. Entrepreneurship couldn't be more of the polar opposite of that, right? You have to work, you have to struggle, you have to go through all these things without possibly seeing a dime, sometimes for years. So you have to literally take everything you know and throw it out the door. It's simply the fact that that doesn't work, because it took, I'm 34, it took 34 years for me to build those belief systems. They don't fucking change overnight. It's the same thing as weight loss, right? You took 25 years to gain an extra 20, or whatever, become 300 pounds, whatever it is. It doesn't change overnight. So the only way, there's two things that go into changing those core belief systems. The first priority is creating doubt in that belief system. So if you can start creating doubt in your own beliefs, you're starting to bring the walls down. And the second thing is constant conditioning. So this is a constant daily thing. Does anybody in here do daily affirmations? Holy shit, that was surprising. I was thinking like maybe one or two of you. Daily affirmations, I know it sounds very granola, hippie, and you think I drive a Subaru by now. Daily affirmations is actually really important, because you're going to remind yourself every day of your own identity, or who it is you want to become. So if you're mindful every day of who you want to become, society can't determine that for you as soon as you walk out that door. Because if you walk out that door without that on the top of your mind, society will abuse that. They will shape you into something that is worthwhile for that person, that company, that job, that family, etc. Daily affirmations is really important. It's not about going in the mirror and saying, oh, I'm pretty today. No, you still have. It's about identifying as who you want to become, right? Or who you are if you're right where you want to be, right? You reinforce that and you don't leave that to chance. Oh, goodness gracious. Okay. Gratitude. I fucking love this word. Let me see if there's another piece of this slide. Yes, okay. Gratitude is extremely, extremely important. This is one easy tool to basically reshape how you think. We all talk about positive thought process and all that, and you see a lot of, it's really funny is in this room, you don't really hear a lot of negativity. You hear a lot of positive encouragement, and that's why this weekend becomes so encouraging, because a lot of you aren't used to hearing that at this level so long. That's also why you're going to potentially experience a crash after you leave here. Be mindful of that. It's a bad day, not a bad life, okay? You can come right back up on that level. That's why we're talking about connecting with other people so you can get back up on that plane. Gratitude is another thing. You can practice it daily, you can practice it weekly, you can journal, but make sure you're taking stock and being grateful. This isn't about the end of it. This isn't about the end game. This isn't about getting the Ferrari or getting, 10 grand a month or whatever. It's about the journey, seriously. So every one of you, whether you're just starting, whether you're still working, at a job that you hate or whatever, be grateful of where you are. It's going to start reshaping how you think and how you see lives, and you can enjoy your life day to day now and not have to set that off in the future. Because you know what happens if you set off in the future? You're never going to get there either. And you're going to live the majority of your life in a piss poor state, and it's just not worth it. It's so much easier on the other end to be grateful for where you're at and what you have now and knowing where you're going, right? It's not difficult. Nothing, by the way, nothing we go over today is a new concept, obviously. But it is every bit important, and that's why I am trying to pound it into your heads right now, right? Penetrate it. One of the easiest ways to gratitude as well, let's see if this comes up, one simple trick. This is also a Tony thing. This is my second favorite life key, which I've posted on the forum before. Trade your expectations for appreciation. You've seen in a lot of presentations today about lowering your expectations. How about we crumble them up and throw them the fuck out the window, right? Why do we do that? Because you have expectations for something. The number one cause of issue, well, not the number one, but a major cause of issues in relationships, in poor attitudes, etc., is mismet expectations. I expected you to be home. Thank you. You got one clap. Got two. You go home, I expected dinner to be on the table. Jesus Christ. You have a fucking home and someone's making you dinner and you're pissed because it's not ready already? I mean, come on. Trade your expectations for appreciation of where you're at, what you have, the people in your life. The fact that all of you are here in Scottsdale this weekend with 165 other entrepreneurs who think like you. That's worthwhile being appreciative. Obviously, I don't think anybody here is thinking that sucks because you wouldn't be sitting here listening to me on Saturday. But it's important. You keep this in your mind constantly, it will change a lot. It will literally change your life overnight. Raising your standards. I hear a lot from people of, oh, well, I just can't seem to do it, or, I'm just not doing the work at the level I want to. I just can't figure it out. Your standards are really low for yourself. Even as an accountability coach, I don't have the ability to make you walk. I can coach you and tell you what to do, lead a horse to water, but ultimately it comes down to what you do and what you're thinking about day to day. If you're not where you want to be, then raise your standards and don't go below them. If you're not working every day, if you're not working as hard as you want, if you're not putting in the hours, if you're not calling as many people as you want, or whatever the fuck it is, raise your standards, go to that level, and stay up there. There's no reason to be under. If you want to be successful, you've got to get up there. And finally, clean your fucking room. So this is kind of big. I want to put on there also Renault Ferrari, like MJ's. Renault Ferrari. Lamborghini. Your environment is really crucial. So I talk about this a lot as well. Your environment has the ability to reshape how you think. So have you ever worked in an office, or have you been your home office and you're in sort of a slump, right? And you can't seem to get to work or whatever. Your environment is a big factor in that. One of the easiest things to do to get outside of that is go somewhere else. Go to a different environment and watch how much you focus. Especially for those of you that work from a home office, this is even more key. Your brain is tuned and anchored to look at your home as a place of relaxation, a place you go to sleep, same with actually sleeping problems. If you watch TV in bed, stop doing it. That's why you have sleep problems. Because your mind's associating that when you lay in that bed, the TV's coming on and your brain's reactivating, right? It's a lot of mental anchoring. The same thing happens in your environment. If you've been in a slump and you can't seem to get out of it, Try changing your environment. This includes cleaning things up. A dirty workspace, clutter in your office is clutter in your mind, right? And we're all adults. Jesus Christ. Make your bed, clean your room. It's not that difficult. This should be done every day. I have a few clients every day. They'll do their filing and everything just to keep their desk clean because it keeps their head clear and focus on the important things and not the mess and chaos that is in their office. Hang on a second. Ran out of steam. All right, so let's hit the gas. This is basically what I'm about to go over is the same framework that I take my clients through. And it's not an end-all, be-all, but it is an easy framework that's easy to get attached to. And if you're regimented enough, this will help guide you to being more structured, if structure is your thing, and making sure you're clear and intentional with your time. The very, very first thing you have to do, and this has been repeated through a couple different presenters. I think Steve presented on it, Rock may have as well. Define your destination. My favorite metaphor for this, imagine you're driving a car with a GPS on, but there's no destination in it. How do you know what turns to take? Are you just willy-nilly doing it? How do you know if you get off track, what the most efficient way to get back on track is? And most importantly, how the fuck do you know when you're there if there's no destination in it? It's impossible to be efficient with your time if you don't know where you're going. You're just taking turns aimlessly, hoping you're going to wind up somewhere. We need to know where somewhere is, because as soon as we know where somewhere is, we can figure out the best route to get there. And if something gets fucked, we know exactly how to go and get back on track as fast as possible. It happens, right? You're working, and all of a sudden, boom, it's over. Oh, I don't know why. I'm waking up every day and feel like shit. Okay, that's fine. That happens to everybody. But we need to be able to get back on track. And we can't fucking do that if we don't know where the end destination is. So the very first thing is defining where that is. A lot of people, when I mention that, will start mentioning dollar amounts. I need to make $10,000 a month. That's the most common. Second one's $1 billion. You say that, you're an idiot. Money is not that end all be all. You can have a monetary target, which is great. But money is a renewable resource, right? It is a vehicle to enable your actual goal or your actual dream, right? Nobody wants to, I want all this money because I'm going to use it to build a house and I'm going to sleep on it. I mean, maybe if you're, what's the DuckTales guy that swims in all his cash? Maybe you're that guy. Yes, Scrooge, yeah, there you go, Scrooge McDuck. I love that you guys are responsive to that. The point is that whatever it is, you need to know what that is. It doesn't always have to be material stuff. It could be altruistic. It could be philanthropic. Maybe you want to donate $100,000 to your church every year, or build a new building, or build schools for kids in Africa. Okay, nobody gets that reference before? All right, we'll drop that. That was a bad story. The point is you need to know what the actual thing is. Here's why. We don't account for our best days. We count for our worst days. If you don't have that purpose, if you don't have that destination, and you're down in the fucking gutter, it's going to be impossible for you to stand back up because you have no fucking reason to, right? You have to know what that is, because that, above all, is what's going to get you back up and say, you know what, I'm doing this because of my kids. I'm doing this because I love my church, or I love my school, or my alma mater, or whatever it is, and I want to achieve that thing. That's what we're counting for. Saying, oh my God, I feel like shit, and I just can't get things done, but I've got to make $5,000. It's just not going to get you out of bed, right? And especially when you hit that $5,000, then you're going to be there and you're going to be stuck in the fucking middle. So defining your destination is the very, very first step after cleaning your room. The 4 areas of focus that we focus on in my program, but in general, there's 4 things that roll into a fulfilled life, right? Because that's ultimately what everybody's after. It's not success, it's fulfillment. Success without fulfillment is basically like failing, right? Richest dude in the graveyard. So there's 4 main areas that I focus on. Number 1 is your business, or your job if that's applicable. That's your income source, right? So this is a main key area. Number 2 is personal, your physical, mental, emotional health. spiritual as well, if it's applicable. It's not always applicable for everybody. This is the most critical, because if you are fucked up personally, your mind's fucked up, your body is not, your health is not where it needs to be, it's impossible to stay motivated. And it's impossible to work as much as you need or do the things you need to do if you have all these things completely off. Emotional is a massive one too. People don't understand. You don't have a therapist and you're kind of screwed up. Stop. God, I want to watch my words here, by the way. That's why I stopped. It drives me insane the fact that people have this stigma against getting therapists and talking about their feelings. I'm a guy. I have a therapist. I've been going to him every week. It's fucking amazing, right? If anything, that should be the place that you go. You have feelings, let them out. Don't fucking bottle them up and unleash them on somebody when they become too much to handle. There is no, it should be destigmatized. That's why I'm up here telling you that I do it. There's nothing wrong with that. Get that straight. There's no excuse. And if you don't have health insurance or you've found it difficult in the past, because this is also common with therapists, which I'm going to talk about, or I'm going to use the stage time to go over. A big issue with therapy, people will go that aren't used to going and they'll expend all of their energy finally letting it out to somebody, only to realize after that hour they don't really trust the person. And it's almost impossible to get them to go back, because they're like, why the fuck would I want to do that again? I've got to go find a therapist. I've got to go see if they take my insurance. I've got to go set the appointment up for 4 weeks from now. I use, and I found extremely beneficial, a site called betterhelp.com. A lot of you have probably seen ads for it. It is under $200 a month, I think. They also have financial aid if you need it, where you just basically apply and they'll give you a discount. But the huge advantage here is that you go through a questionnaire and you pick what your preference is, right? So if you want a male or female, if you want a certain ethnicity, if you want somebody that has a background in, spiritual-based counseling or LGBT-based counseling. Bobby's not here. You can basically pick, right? And it'll match you up with a counselor. You have access to not only get on Skype with that counselor once a week, but you have access to them on text. I hope someone's texting him right now and talking about it. If not, I'm going to do it as soon as I get off. And if you don't like that person, you click a button and you'll get a new therapist that also lines up with that. It makes it efficient. You don't have to go anywhere if you're in a small town, if you're out in this rural area, if you don't want to go anywhere because you're afraid of showing up in the office and seeing somebody you know and being judged. Here's an easy way to access it. It's inexpensive and it's worthwhile. The third one, family and friends. We all have an innate need for connection. This is the number one area that people neglect when they start their own business, right? Because you start isolating yourself. Your excuse, I'm too busy. Okay, we get it. I'm too busy too. But you have a need for connection. The last thing you want to do is forego that long enough that you lose a lot of those connections and you wind up, again, missing that fulfillment. You no longer have that familiarity. You no longer have somebody to call and cry on their shoulder or go to dinner with, or you've distanced from your family because you've holed up thinking that your business and your work, busy work, is more important than reaching out. It doesn't have to be hard. If you don't want to see your family every week, at a minimum, each week, reach out to somebody on the phone. Send something, connect with an old friend. Restart a conversation that you dropped a while ago. It only takes one little thing a month, but you have a need for connection, even if you're an introvert. Make sure you're continually thinking about that. Fourth one is personal finance and investments. So this is not always a fast mover, but where your income comes in your business and job, your personal and finance is what you do with it and how you go from rich to wealthy, right? Personal finance, you're the CEO of your own bank account. If you do not know what's going on in your own bank account, it's just like your business. What are you doing? You have tons of subscriptions going on you don't know about? Your personal bank account is no different than your business bank account. You should at least know what's going on in there consistently. It helps you make decisions, just like your business bank account. And then when you get to that level, you start thinking about investing, because the money you have today It's all monopoly money. Every bit of it should be in play until you get to your exit number. Otherwise, it's a fucking wasted resource. Think about that. That's a big thought. Your money, your resources, everything in your life that's valuable needs to be in play at all times until you hit that exit number. Or until you get to that point where you don't need it all anymore. Not need it all, everybody would not need money, but so think a little deeper on that. Most people in here may or may not be in that realm, but as long as you keep it on your mind each week, it keeps you open to opportunity. And sometimes opportunity is where we find our biggest gains in. Once you have set your intentions in those 4 areas of life, you want to reverse engineer it with purpose and intention. So we want to break down where we're going in those categories, and we want to make sure the things that we're doing week by week are impactful towards that. How many of you would identify this statement? I did a lot of work last week, but I got nothing done. A large portion of you, right? Why do you think that is? It's because you did a lot of bullshit. It doesn't actually really tie to where you're going. You're doing busy work. You're doing bullshit that urgent does not equal important, right? Just because it's popping up in Aunt Sue called, right when you needed to be finishing up your AdWords campaign, it's urgent, it's not important. You need to focus. Don't spend all your time doing a bunch of bullshit busy work. You have no time left over for the impactful things. A lot of people will do this period because, again, the way our minds are wired, right? Busy work's easy, it's a task. A task equals a reward. So, I don't want to do the big hard thing like working on this project or building this website because I can be down here sending emails because every one that I send gives me a little hit of dopamine and I feel good. But it's not getting anywhere. You got to be able to delay that gratification and do the big things and the important things. And then once you get that set out and you figure out what you're doing week over week, it's pretty simple. Rock mentioned Jocko Willenick. This is where this comes from. Prioritize and execute. Jocko talks a lot about this. I talk a lot about this. That's as simple as it is, folks. Once you set out what you're doing week over week, it's a matter of prioritizing it and executing. There's no fucking formula. This isn't 7-minute abs. You just have to put in the work. Right? That's what we're talking about, raise your standards. If you want to be successful, if you really want to be successful, then you need to get to fucking work, prioritize, and execute. There's no excuse. Most of what I hear, why people aren't getting there, is a bunch of bullshit excuses of why they can't. It's simple. You prioritize and you execute day in and day out. Is everybody on board with that? Jesus.
Yes.
Yeah. This is a statement that always reminds me of that too, day to day. Why are you doing things? Sometimes we do what we should do, but we always do what we must do. If you have critical things, they need to be a must. This is another part of accounting for your worst days. On your worst days, you are going to do what you must do that day. You're going to eat, you're going to sleep, you're going to feed your children. Everything else is optional if it's not a must, right? We sometimes do what we should do. Right? It's easy to forego. Oh, I should be doing this. Oh, I might do this. But we always do what we must do. So if you want to figure out how to get over that hump, make whatever it is a must. Sometimes people put a bet on it. Sometimes people set some sort of pain point, right? I'm not going into the whole pain, seeking pleasure, and avoiding pain thing. It's too complicated. This is the simple version of it. Make what you have to do a must, you'll get it done. Guaranteed. We already went over that. Track your work. This is an easy way to get perspective. I work with a lot of people consistently that are doing a lot of work, but because you're in it every day, your perspective gets skewed. You say, oh, you know what, I'm not getting anywhere. I'm not far enough. Well, how the fuck do you know that if you're not tracking it? You don't actually know what you've completed. Track your work. If you need help with that, search the Fastlane forum for the GSD system. I don't know if putting that in will pull it up because it's only 3 letters. It's a thread I put up in 2016, and if anybody in here has asked me when the version 2 is coming out, I swear, and I will still continue on coming soon. It's an easy, simple system. It's the same one I still use. I just use a different program. I don't use Trello anymore. to help you prioritize that work and focus, right? It merges a couple of productivity systems. There is endless resources on productivity systems, Pomodoro timing, Kanban, etc. If you don't have one, go on and try it out. If it works for you, continue to use it. Obviously, it's free, right? There's no need to charge for things like that. I think if you can get people productive, I'm always going to be putting out content like that. What do you think it stands for? Yeah, that should done. I like that. So search that if you need a system. Here's the key to that though. If it doesn't work for you, don't fucking do it, okay? But use some sort of system. MJ is a proponent of paper. He has also, if you're big on paper, I think MJ still sells the sheet tarot sheets. What's the site? Where do you buy it? Hyperion Publishing. What's that? If you're yes. If you're an insider, you can get those sheets for free. You can print them out. You can get the template. You got the printed version? Great. If you're an insider, I think you get the PDF for free. Or you can buy the tear sheet. There you go. There's one right there. Anthony has it. If you do paper, go grab that. It's a simple system on paper. If you use digital, not everyone can use digital, use digital. Your key to either of those is to be able to input things as much as possible. The more you input, the less anxiety you hold in your mind. You have to basically go 100% on that. On any system, if you do not use it for everything and rely on it, you will not use it consistently over time. So if it's digital, if it's paper, make sure it's with you all the time. If it's digital, get the app and make sure the add task thing is on in front of your phone, because you need to be able to immediately dump any task, anything into it as quickly as possible. That'll remove it from your mind and you can rely on the system. Be accountable. So, go ahead. Some questions, what system I use now. I'm not using Trello. The reason I didn't mention it, it's called Favreau.com. They no longer have an individual subscription. You have to get a group one. When I did it, they had an individual account. They no longer do that. The one I recommend now is a little more complicated. It's called ClickUp.com. It's a more complex version. Trello still works. It's just very, very simple.
Just going off of that would just have individual seats, you just have to contact
Might be true. However, I talked to one of their executives, and they said that wasn't always possible. So it's hit or miss. That's the problem. Just use ClickUp or use Trello. ClickUp is a little more complicated. It has goal setting and stuff like that as well. Being accountable. So this has come up, obviously. I'm an accountability partner, or I'm an accountability coach. You don't necessarily need to have a coach. If you can, great. If not, get a partner. Same thing here. Search Fastlane forum for get accountable. The reason I did it is that's part of the title. I posted maybe a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, the framework that I use. I literally posted it on the forum for you guys to use. You guys can link up with a partner, and you have a built-in system in place. I hope you use it. It doesn't matter to me. I'm a coach. The reason people come to me is because I'm an expert. But you guys can do that at any moment, is get someone. The key here, if you're going to get someone as a partner, don't get your fucking best friend, because they're going to want to be nice. They're going to be more invested in not pissing you off than holding you accountable. You want to make sure that you line up with someone that they're going to be on that call and you trust them. That's one of the first things. You want to be transparent. You want to trust them. You want to have rapport. But you don't want to be so close that they're going to bullshit you. Because the only thing that works in accountability is remembering and knowing when someone just hasn't done something and they're trying to hide it. I see it every week, and I call it out every week. Hey, what's the deal with this? It's not on your sheet. And there's always some bullshit excuse behind it. Right? But if your partner's not doing that, they're failing you, and it's really worthless. If you're getting on the phone call, I have an accountability partner every week. He's a complete asshole. He's not even very good. His name's Bobby Casey. You guys are right. That guy's a piece of work. We do that every week. We've been doing it for 2 years. We won't listen. Those of you know Bobby, We don't really hold anything back, right? So, but it's extremely valuable. I know it's not personal. I don't take everything personal. You know, you're talking about my mother or you know, my penis, I was like, okay, well, you have an opinion. Good for you. But the thing is, and you know, I feel always like I got abused there. I don't think that's right. The point is that somebody needs to be there, and it needs to be separated from personal. Somebody's going to have to cut through your layers of protection to keep yourself safe and in your comfort zone. And without that, it breaks down. So again, if you want to get a system, there's one on the form. And this compare to only compare you to the past you. That's it. This is a really important lesson in perspective. So I hear a lot, you know what, I'm not going as fast as I should be, or I'm not in the spot, or I didn't make as much money, or I didn't put in, you know, whatever it is, right? I always ask, what's your reference for that? Right? This isn't, you don't have as many leads as you thought. What's your reference for how many leads you should have? The answer is always the same. Well, that's just what I thought. Well, okay, let's just fucking go off of random shit, right? It doesn't fucking make any sense. The only thing you should be comparing yourself to is your past you. If you have more leads this month than you did last month, you're improving. You're putting in more hours, right? You can't beat anyone. There's always going to be somebody that puts in Elon Musk, right? Or Gary Vaynerchuk, right? Just work hours and hours and hours and hours. That doesn't mean that's right for you. That doesn't, your results may vary, right? You should be comparing you, and you should always be beating yourself. It's a huge lesson in perspective, because the alternative is you start to break down, you get upset, you get all in your feelings that, oh, you know what, I'm just not doing good, and guess what? That's a slippery slope. Negative thought processes are huge causes of having low productivity, low motivation. You have to be able to get up out of that. Compare yourself. If you get in that mode, think about, you know what? Am I doing better today than I was last year? Fuck yes, go me, right? And get right back on top of it. Oh shit. 2 minutes? Okay, fuck. Quick statement. You're exactly where you should be, period. I hear a lot, oh, this is a big thing within imposter syndrome, right? Thank you. Man, this is my #1 fan right here. Oh, we got 2. See, we got 2. This is a huge thing. I hear a lot. You know, a lot of people are afraid to reach out because, oh, you know what, I'm not as good as people. I started 3 years ago, and I'm not there. You're not where. You're exactly where you should be. My quote here. This was from the Social Network movie in 2014. If you guys were the inventors of Facebook, you would have invented Facebook. If you were supposed to be somewhere else than you were right now, then you would fucking be there. You don't wake up every morning thinking, I'm gonna make the shittiest decisions I can today and fuck my life up, right? You're a product of every decision you make. So you are exactly where you should be. There's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't equal the future. The past doesn't equal the future. If you wanna change it, then get the fuck up and change it. But don't sit there and wallow in the fact that you should be somewhere else other than you are right now. You can't fucking do anything about it anyways, then go forward. I think I'm closing down. Amen. Lastly, I'll close this up, sorry, Jay. Lastly, my most important, quit your bullshit. The excuses have to go. If you want to be successful, you'll be successful. But you're not going to do it if you're telling yourself bullshit stories, excuses, whatever it is you feel like is holding you back. Get rid of it. It's not helping you. Let's wrap up. We already did that. Here's my information if anybody wants to connect. I am putting videos up now. Here's my email. You can have my email. You know what? I'd love to connect with you guys. Honestly, I'm always up for it. I take calls all the time from random people. My goal in life is to impact as many people. It's not necessarily about the money. I want to have a greater impact. If there's a way I can help you, send me an email. Just be mindful. I'm probably not going to respond Monday through Wednesday because I'm on the phone all day. And then one final point. Sorry, I did. I know you're looking real. I'll let you take your adjustment. Oh, I hope it's not about me. Lastly, Kung Fu Steve and I, wanted to kind of impact a few more people. This doesn't coincide, it doesn't rip away from anything with Fastlane. We love that. We created a Facebook group called The Path, Personal Development for Entrepreneurs. If you guys are interested in continuing education, there's nothing for sale here. Everything's free. I do weekly videos. Steve does videos somehow so often. We just started this as a Facebook group. We're both going to be putting in practical content. There's nothing salesy behind it. There is no purpose other than to enable people with those tools. So if you're interested in getting that stuff consistently, by all means join the group. If not, reach out to me if you need individual help. I'd love to help you. You have my email, you have my Facebook. That's my business Facebook, by the way. My personal Facebook. I have to really know somebody to accept. And anyways, in closing statement, you guys are all beautiful people. I'm glad to be here in front of you. I hope this weekend was amazing. And you guys learned a lot, and I hope now you have the tools to be able to leave here and really get after it. And once you get on that train, make sure you're posting on a forum so we can all cheer you on. Okay, we're all family. So Greg was asking a couple years ago when I gave a challenge to create a progress thread. The real end game to that, your end goal should be in a year or in 2 years, your goal is to get that thread marked your goal thread. It's a marker of value, right? So we're not talking about just adding your thread and being light and not being transparent in it. If you provide enough value, and they will mark it or they or whoever will mark it notable or goal. Your goal there is to provide enough value back to the community that's given to you. Right? Contribution is huge. So good. Thanks for that. Thanks, you guys.